Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to the fourth in the series. It's a pen chat and the subject is my pen fast, which I'll explain in case this is the first one that you're catching. Because what is a pen fast? It's basically choosing not to purchase, having a window similar to what you would have in intermittent fasting, and that's where I got it from, where you make no purchases in the hobby, or that's what I'm doing, and I've got quite a few people that are either following along or doing something similar, and it has been really, really nice to come on every month and talk about this subject because I need the support, and I feel like others have done enough feedback that I think they do too. So if, for instance, in my intermittent fasting, which is a health tool that I've been using since August of 2018, is right now what I do is it's called 24. That's the pattern. I go 20 hours and then I have a 4-hour eating window. Sometimes I'll only eat one meal, and that's called an OMAD, or a 1 meal a day. And sometimes I will have a little more than that, a main meal and then a protein snack or something before I close out. But it's very structured for me, and it makes things simpler. And what I thought was, if I had a spending window too that was a lot shorter, than it has been, where it was pretty much every month I would spend, little bits here and there on the hobby, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but I was finding myself sort of not wanting to do that anymore and overstocked on a lot of things. Let's put it that way. So hopefully that explains it. My goal right now is to stay in my fasting mode with not buying pens and inks and notebooks through September. And believe me, this month there's been a few times when I felt a little shaky. So I'm really glad that this day has come to do this video, because I've got a lot to talk about. And the way I'm going to structure it is, first we're going to talk about the selected viewer comments that I pulled out from the last video. And one was a question, and the other three were sort of, helpful comments that I really, really appreciated. And so many of the comments are great. So please don't feel bad if yours wasn't picked this time. There are a lot of comments. But I thought, we focus and draw out some of the ones that stood out the most to me. It might be helpful to you. So we'll do that first. And then I've got 4 other topics. So this could get long. This could be more like a podcast if you want to clean your house and put some headphones on or something. Or if you just, like seeing my facial expressions, you can look at me, I guess. So the first of the topics is the nickel and dime syndrome. And then the second one is I'm going to talk about spending triggers that I ran into. And then some of my mindfulness insights this month. And then fourth will be the feelings that were coming out, because there were quite a few feelings. So I'm going to talk about that too. But first, let's go back, and I have done a printout. I've printed out some viewer comments, and one was long, but I think it really deserves our attention. But that's not the first one. The first one is from Ray Buck. And they say, I will be cutting back severely on my purchases for a while. I believe that it will give me some great learnings on why I make the purchases or want the products, and whether I get the satisfaction from the planning, the purchase, or the use of the pens. So I wrote down, and I may have, some of these I may have edited just a little, just for the purposes of, drawing into the main point and talking about that. I wrote down experiment, with an exclamation point. And yeah, because that's a wonderful experiment. And what it will do is create mindfulness. And we can collect data if we try this. If we specifically journal about, what's going on when we want something, and or even looking back on purchases we've made and ask ourselves, what was the main thing about this? Sometimes hindsight is 20/20, so we have to do that. And I like that comment very much. I keep going back to it, and of course you can go back to them anytime and read them. It's really interesting too, because some sub conversations take place. So the next one was from Joseph Dixon, and they say, I enjoy using a single pen and ink for an entire week. The experience lets me reconnect with a pairing over time and explore a combination more deeply. Now, this really interested me because I have a really close friend or pen pal in the UK that did this. And if I'm not mistaken, when she got through doing that for quite a while, I think now she's been a whole year without buying pens. Like it really worked for this person. I'm not going to call them out here on the video unless they want to mention it in the comments, but I'm not sure that I could do it because, use just one single pen and ink for a week, because I like to use so many when I'm letter writing, different colors, and I guess that's my signature way of writing pen pal letters. And, it can be, I often wonder sometimes if it's annoying. I think for some people it's not, because it may introduce them to an ink in a particular nib that they haven't seen. And then for other friends, I notice, well, they write with one pen and ink for the letter, and I think that shows great focus. And I often wonder when I write back to them, because I might be using 4 or 6, but I try to be me. I could just mirror whatever the writer's doing, but I don't think that would be genuine to me. So I do me, and I enjoy what they do as well. So anyway, that's a really good idea, and I happen to know from my connections with this other friend that really worked for her to stop over purchasing fountain pens. So, okay, this is the one I was talking about that's longer, but I really want to read it because it made a real impact on me. So bear with me. Hopefully I can read it interestingly enough so that you can follow it. But it's from Juan Bosco Lucas. And I'm not sure, if that's the way to break it up. These avatars or these names that we have sometimes are interesting. But this person describes the problem or how it feels to them, and then offers 2 simple things that they're trying, that they're doing, for not over purchasing. So the first part of it, just describing how it feels. Here goes. I currently own around 50 pens, mostly low-cost ones, because I have a limited budget. Lately, though, I've been feeling disheartened. It seems like there's a never-ending cycle of new pen models and colors. I feel like a dog chasing after a ball. The owner throws it, the dog retrieves it, and the cycle repeats endlessly. Each time a new model is released, I find myself buying it, perpetuating the cycle. I find the idea of pen fasting so interesting. I want to regain control and appreciate what I already have. However, it's challenging for me. Yes, it's challenging for me too. So just know you're not alone, and I think you're in good company right here in this video and in this comment section, I'm sure. So now let's go on to the second part where this person offers, what they're trying to do and everything. Okay, so here it goes. To tackle this, I've cut down on social media. I have too. Anyway, that's just my add-on, where I often encounter an overwhelming urge to buy. When I see a new pen, I try to think, do I really need this? Some pens I've barely used, even after buying them. This broader perspective extends beyond pens. I'm starting to feel around me the constant pursuit of the unattainable. It's just my opinion that everyone should do what feels right for them. I hope this encourages others to think from an alternative perspective. And once again, thank you for your videos. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for listening and participating with comments, because that's what brings any YouTube channel alive and brings a community alive. And that's, I really don't take that for granted here. I really feel like we have that here. But there's a lot to unpack there. And I feel like that metaphor of feeling like a dog that's chasing a ball or whatever, it kind of applies. I mean, it definitely applies. It describes the feeling of sort of, it's fun for a while, and then what, right? Something a little bit different maybe that we need. So we'll just let that simmer, and I have one more. Oh, this is the question. Okay, this one may be a little long-winded for me answering it because it's, anyway, here goes. This is from David, and I did cut just just to get right to the part that I wanted to address. So it's like ... With you comparing your buying freeze to fasting with food, I can't help but feel like if we send you a care package, we are force feeding you in a way. I hope in your next video update, you let us know if it feels like that to you. Would hate to do anything to make this fast harder for you. Well, first, thank you, because this person, has been a great contributor to my channel and myself, and as well as many other people here have been as well. And I appreciate everything. And this one really made me think. In fact, I got a kind of an extra little piece of paper here that I started working on, to specifically to be able to answer it. But first, I had written down here, there's just so much generosity in this community, in the overall fountain pen community, and here on this channel, and it's just so wonderful. At times, I think it's guilt that I feel like sometimes I feel sort of like a mini celebrity, that I get so much mail, and I am lucky if I can get the thank you cards out and things like, or thank you notes, because I tend to write letters, not cards. But anyway, so there's a little bit of, oh dear. I have actually been through times when I thought, I need to let people know that I have a lot of everything. But then most of you know, because I haven't made any secret about how many inks I have, how many, ink samples and pens. So I just feel like it's pure generosity and sharing. And accepting and receiving is just as important as giving. And so I don't want to throttle that. I've been really honest, and we're individually worked with folks where they know, I've been as really transparent about it. So I think there's good communication, and I have never wanted to just come out and say, oh, please don't send me anything more because I feel guilty. Well, that's, hey, that's my problem or whatever, and, anyway, so what I did was I was thinking about that, and I thought, okay, first off, it doesn't make it harder, but I understand the question, because I have studied hoarding a lot, and I believe in everything. There's a scale, there's a, and I don't consider myself a hoarder, because that's a clinical, very serious thing that would, it would indicate that my spaces weren't able to be used for what they're, intended for. So I tend to think of myself more as a collector and a maximalist in certain areas, like books and pens and inks. Very specific categories. I tend to hang on to a lot of inventory. And, I call it that because I watch Minimal Mom, and she is fantastic. I mean, she's much younger than me, and she's got kids still in school, but I love her content. And she gets right into the meat of, working with your possessions and downsizing it. But I just love her anyway. So Minimal Mom, I'll try to remember to put a link to her channel, because she's just amazing. So with hoarding, then a person would probably be very concerned with acquiring, whether it was free stuff or very inexpensive things. And we'll talk in a little bit about Dollar Tree, because that came up this month during my pen fast. Or things that we buy. So, but we're not dealing with that, or I'm not dealing with hoarding. So I was trying to think, well, what am I actually dealing with? And I found that I have two things I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with the first purpose of buying less items is to reduce my consumption and not continue to add to the inventory that I have in the volume that I was, because I can't sit here honest with I can't look you in the eye and say I'll never buy another pen or ink. That would be hogwash. But I want it to be slower, less, not as intense as it was, because it seemed that every ad check or every windfall resulted in triggering, me buying more things and looking for what to buy. And, as my dad would say, we would go in Dollar Tree we'd come out and he'd say, wow, we found a bunch of stuff that I didn't even know we needed. You know, he'd always say that. And I felt guilty because I'm like, yeah, I sure did. But anyway, and then the second purpose for me right now with this is, you know, I want to manage my money better. I don't have unlimited, you know, means, that's for sure. And at times I even think, who am I to be spending money on a hobby like this, because there are other things. But that's going to come up next when I delve into the 4 topics. It's going to come up more. So I hope I answered your question, David. I know I addressed it in a letter as well. And I hope that I'm not being just wishy-washy, because, you know, I'm able to kind of step back and look at myself and say, you know, is this because you have fear of missing out that you haven't told folks don't send me things? But I don't think it's that at all. Like I said, I really feel that, first off, most people here know what I have, and there have been very, very few duplicates. And in fact, the only duplicates I can think of have really been in ink samples where they were sent at the same time. Like literally before I had a chance to kind of show that I had these samples. There are a few samples that I got duplicates of, which I tend to combine them, you know, and then I have one vial with them. So, I kind of feel like the luckiest person on the planet. But anyway, I'm hoping that answers the question, but we have that continued ability to talk more about it down in the comment section, so I won't go any further with that right now. I think I've answered it. So anyway, and that brings me to another thing before we close out on the viewer comment section. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comment section, especially of these videos, because I'd be extracting, and you know, it could be that there are things you want to know, and just ask away. Okay. All right. So then going back to the 4 areas that I was talking about, I kind of organized kind of a loose what would you call it? Outline, so that I could talk about these things, you know, one at a time. The first one I jotted down was nickel and dime syndrome. Now, what I mean by that is I feel like sometimes we make smaller purchases because we really can't afford a larger purchase, or, you know, I can only speak for myself, really. I have been a little short-sighted, where maybe I could have been saving for a larger goal. You know, and I need to think of examples, because that's so flat when I can't think of examples, but I will. And I think, you know, well, the thing that I jotted down was, you know, if I'm kind of purchasing each month a new and interesting pen with the ad revenue, or not every month do I get ad revenue, but sometimes it'll trigger a check in just one month, and usually it's every other month. But if I'm doing that, even though I already have 200 fountain pens, then chances are, you know, because of my budget, my income level being, you know, chances are I'm foregoing something else, something greater, that if I had more discipline about saving the money instead, then I would get to where I want to go. And that, you know, that's sobering, and those kinds of things take time to really get honest with ourselves and dig into, because I don't know about you, but I'm better at meeting a goal if I actually admit, well, you know, I need to save. Like when we were saving for the roof, we were laser focused. I was willing to sell stuff. I was, you know, putting that money away, you know, socking it away. And when we were able to get the roof, it was like, oh, it was like no feeling I've ever had, because it was a lot of money, but we had saved it. And I mean, I don't know how we did it. Looking back, I was trying to remember, and, you know, I do remember one large thing we sold, but holy cow. So that's just an example, and that's a lot bigger than what I'm really thinking. I'm thinking about airplane tickets, or, you know, a new couch, or something else that I might, or we might want more, or that I could work toward. Okay, and then let's see. I was going to see if... I think there's one subject that I didn't quite work into this list. That's why I was looking. And I'm going to save that, but I'll remember, because I pulled out a book to talk about. Not that that means anything to you. Okay, so under this nickel and dime syndrome, I started to think about, well, small orders and how they could undermine our happiness in another area. You know, I could have had a V8 is the kind of philosophy. You know, you remember that commercial? You know, somebody has something else, like, I don't know, a cup of milk, but they could have had a V8. That was a cool commercial for V8 fruit, vegetable juice, I guess. Oh my God. Now you're really inside my brain. I'm not sure you're going to want to stay, but so one experience I had this last week that kind of has to do with nickel and diming, and I've got them right here, is index cards. And the idea that, you know, the project that I'm doing with, well, 2 projects, and I did not have 4x6 cards for the Zettelkasten that I'm putting together. I did have plenty of the 3x5 ones. Anyway, I went to Dollar Tree and I started to get a little bit carried away. And Manuel said, you're going to need that many, you know, and it kind of helped me. Actually, he needed some index cards, and so I said, well, I got plenty, so here, you better take some. And it started to make me realize, and okay, it went beyond getting those index cards in Dollar Tree. They're very affordable. Well, these were in Walmart, so I went 2 places. I went to Walmart and I went to Dollar Tree. And I had $20 because I had a very generous and very unexpected donation to the channel. And I thought, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm videoing about the projects, and so I needed dividers and I needed index cards. And anyway, but next thing I knew, I found myself at my computer going to Goulet pens, going to Jet pens, going everywhere looking up, you know, a little better quality index cards, which I'd already determined my Platinum Preppy writes on these perfectly. And I am not trying to write on these index cards with a broad nib. I don't care about that. What I'm really doing is organizing things, and my ink journal is where the references to page numbers in the ink journal, that's fine, but I don't need to have you know, samples of the writing on my index card. Some people do that, but I want it on the Tomoe River paper, so I've got that established pretty well. And I caught myself and I realized, wow, I have just filled my card at JetPens. I have no money for this, so it would have to be add money when it comes in, which is tomorrow, by the way. So I'm having this intervention today so that I could talk about it and really make myself aware, you know, because that's just fine, you know, with Christmas money or sometime if I'm planning to get back into those kind of index cards and review them, but that is not the case. I have what I need, and I did catch myself getting down that pattern. You know, if we find ourselves shopping, it might as well be walking around in Walmart because you're on your computer and it's kind of unsafe, you know? You know, if you know what I mean. Okay, too easy to shop that way. Okay, so then, okay, the next one that I wrote down were triggers to spend. So I kind of blew that one. I already talked about part of it because the index cards, those projects, that did become sort of a trigger. And I did not exceed my budget. In fact, I still have $9 of that $20 left. And I've thanked the person, and you know who you are. Thank you so much. What an unexpected, totally shocking thing, and thank you very much, because it sure was handy, because I needed some things. But that was a trigger to start, scrolling, and scrolling kind of leads to actual purchasing. So, and then the other thing I noticed is repeatedly as it gets closer to the day, which is going to be tomorrow, when the ad money would arrive, I started to think about purchasing, Now, I didn't take that thought or that sort of, mind thing. I didn't go to the computer with it because I'd already been through it with the index cards. And I thought, it's best if my goal is to make it all the way through September. And in fact, sometimes much more important things come up and there's just no excuse me, there's just no contest. It was something for the cats or the house or whatever. But those two things, having an exciting project and having an ad revenue pending, hopefully, if the creek doesn't rise, because, I've heard some stories this week. But anyway, that's not gonna happen, I don't think. Okay, so then number 3 is Mindfulness Insights of the Month. Okay, that's where the book comes in. Let me move these index cards. So I did actually make a good outline here. The subject that I want to talk to you about, as far as what came to mind in my journaling and in my, and this gets a little bit personal, it gets a little bit vulnerable, but it doesn't matter. Because I know that whenever I listen to someone being open about something, that I really gain from it. So if I can help one person with this, I'm willing to be this, just to be transparent. So under-earning is the topic. And it's come up, and it is really, really, like flared right up. And I have this book on my shelf that I read years ago, back when I was young, and it helped me. And I actually went on from there, from whatever it was, as I transitioned out of just sort of freelance work that I was doing with some friends, which I won't go into, but, and back into actual better paying work. And it's this book here. It's Earn What You Deserve, How to Stop Under-Earning and Start Thriving. I'll just hold it up because, I hate when people don't hold it up long enough to see the title. I will put it in the description box because nothing irks me more than trying to write it down fast enough. And so don't worry about it. But it's Gerald with a J, Mundis, author of How to Get Out of Debt, Stay Out of Debt, and Live Prosperously. I have that book too still. I got rid of, I gave one of those away. And then I got it again on the second-hand market because I really like these books. They're very helpful. But it was a whole thing. Like I started thinking about how ever since I left the military, my work became disposable, or the one that was not disposable, but how would you say it? The first to go whenever there was a crisis in the family or a need. Then there went my work, disruption, stay home, take care of this, do this, and then go back out and try to start over again. And that's not to be bitter. It's just the way it was. And it comes up now because at times I feel like, man, I'm 60 years old and, closer to retirement than anything else. And yet I don't want to give up on being able to not only contribute, but also, earn. And so it's come up quite a bit. And I've been looking into some things, and but I'm not who I used to be. Now I'll study something really well before I just dive in with all my energy and then find out that, oh dear, this is, this is way more, commitment or, energy versus what you could gain from it. So that topic has just flared up, and I've been thinking about my entire work history, both paid and unpaid, and they're important. They're important things that I've done throughout my life in many different scenarios and so forth. And yet, doing this YouTube, it's one of the most enriching things I've ever done, and it's the lowest paying thing. It's not a job. It's, for me, it's, well, that, I shouldn't say it that way with some kind of disdain. It's not. It's, to me, this is truly a way that I can still contribute. And so the ad revenue does mean something to me because it helps me kind of sustain things. And, I sure do appreciate it when I run out of envelopes or something that I actually need. It's stamps. I mean, that's like the first thing that I consider whenever the ad revenue comes in is stamps. I buy stamps. I've even had generous subscribers send me stamps, which is it's just incredible. So that's where I wrote that down. I wrote, this channel is viewer supported and Google ads, but it's free content. So that's good. I can feel good about that. It's you have to put up with some ads or do the option where you don't have ads or whatever. But that's kind of a small price to pay when you think about a platform like this where we can make contributions, but also get a little bit of running, I call it running money, being able to continue, So, So I think that segues really good. Well, let's see if there's more. Well, and the other thing is, and I won't get into it deeply, but I've been, sort of researching some things where I'm learning about some people who are just my age, like 59, 60, that are making huge contributions in the world. And, of course, they're highly educated and career and probably for however they managed it, no disruptions in their career life. But it's really making me think. And you can't go back, but you can go forward and you can make changes. And that's what I'm hoping to do. So I think that is a real good segue to the last part, which is feelings. So the first feeling I wrote down was curious. I'm extremely curious about some of my past, choices and behaviors. I remember well some of the reasoning, boy, do I remember when I left the military, because at the time I had a 4-year-old about to turn 5, about to go into kindergarten. And when that choice, whether to re-enlist or not, came up, it was a no-brainer. I wanted him to have the opportunity to be in one school. And as it turned out, of course, you don't know when a child is 4 or 5, going on 5. You really don't know. But I was the kind of child that did not like moving. It devastated me when we moved when I was 13. So in my mind, it was like, I'm not doing that to my child, And as I got to know him more and more and more as he grew up, I realized he would have been all in for moving every year, I'm sure, but such a different personality than me. But anyway, I remember those choices, and I remember the different times when my in-laws needed care, and then it was my dad, and I'm still helping my mom as a co-guardian and just being in the support of her. So, but there's a lot of curiosity, and there's a lot of reviewing whatever I can find from my old journals, which helps. And then okay, I wrote down puzzled, and I wrote down, it seems I was under a spell or living detached from my actual circumstances. Well, I think I feel that way when I look at the volume of pens that I have, because it doesn't really make sense. This is the 3rd month of refraining from purchasing fountain pens, and the longer it goes, the less sense that it makes some of the things that I did, and it was fun, and it was never at the expense of, being able to pay our bills, never, and it didn't run up debt. But even though it didn't disrupt either of those two things, I still think some of it was batshit crazy. I'm sorry, but excuse my language, but holy, what was I thinking? Was I in a cult? No, but I think I was definitely mesmerized and sort of like shiny object syndrome. I can't help it. I now think, oh, am I gonna? I don't want to return to that. I want to keep the best of it though. So that's why I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm being totally honest with you. I see some of the things that I did as crazy. But okay, so moving on. Hopeful. That's the next one. Hopeful. So I am very hopeful that I can change. And this 3 months shows me that I can do things differently. I feel like it's continuing that I'm feeling better about my pen pal writing. That's going better. There's more bandwidth from me into the writing. And I don't know if it shows because I don't know, but I feel that way. I feel like, wow, this is, I'm making better connections, remembering things I wanted to say, and a little bit faster on the replies. Although right now yesterday I received 5 letters and a magazine in the mail. It was great. It was like, wow. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm on a pen fast because I've had some really, really nice things. But so it was Pen World magazine. And thank you. And I'll be writing to you. You know who you are. Okay. So hopeful, that's a strong thing that I feel. And then the next one is grateful. I mean, I've been talking about that, I think, throughout this. I think I'll call it a podcast because that's what it feels like. I feel I've been blessed beyond belief, I don't know. And you know, when I went to Unity, one of the best things I walked away, that's a spiritual community that I went to for many years. One of the best things I walked away with was just a one-liner that came out of one of the classes I took. And it probably had to have been the prosperity class. And it was, prosperity's demonstration is giving. And you know, I think of demonstration as proof, you know. In other words, the proof of prosperity is giving. And so I feel like when we are in a giving mode and a sharing and a contributing mode, then we do sort of, you know, attract to us, whether we try or not, good. And so I think there's just a lot of that circulating and going on in this hobby. So then darn it, I should have ended on one of the better feelings, but this is how it came out when I typed up my outline, and the word is worried. And I'll read you what I wrote. I wrote, because I feel spendy. So yesterday I was feeling kind of spendy, like there were a couple of things making me a little bit nervous, and I think I just felt like, I just wish I could just like order one of each, and every single index card, you know, all the ones. Of course, you can't even get the bear and fig ones anymore. They're out of stock. And good thing they're out of stock, because guess who's on it, you know, not in a buying window right now? Me. So anyway, okay, so I don't think I finished. Okay, I said, because I feel spendy, nervous, maybe about national events and health of a loved one. Yeah, so that actually should have gone up there under triggers to spend. So that would make 3 triggers to spend. Kind of feeling nervous about just general, and not anxiety, just general nervousness, I guess. And then having this project that sort of spurred my interest in, you know, acquiring some stuff for the project. And then the incoming eventual paycheck. So there, that is the planned portion of the video. Now I get to ramble. I think I've already kind of covered the rambling, but I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but every time, and this is the 4th one, and I'm enjoying it more and more. I find myself thinking about the subject all the time, you know, and how, you know, this is sort of like accountability. It is. It is. It's coming on and speaking about it, and talking openly about the desire to spend differently. If that's, you know, that kind of, I believe that sums it up. Is, you know, I don't, I'm not saying I'm going to never buy another pen or ink or notebook, or that's, you know, we've already talked about how ridiculous a statement like that wouldn't be true. So I just want to make changes and feel better about it. So I got to take a drink of water. I don't think I've taken a breath yet, but I was really hoping to finish this before the phone rings, which I'm expecting. So, but yeah, I'm here as long as you're here for this. Even when I enter a spending window, I'd like to do a monthly pen chat around this subject, or however it morphs and changes, you know, with whatever season, because I think there's value in, you know, with intermittent fasting for health and food-wise and weight management, there's each component. You know, your eating window is extremely important, and you want to focus on quality and nutrition, and you know, getting what you really need. And then when you're in that fasting, there's a lot of freedom in that. There's a feeling of everything kind of lifted, because there's so much less you really need to think about, except for staying hydrated and yeah, just like pursuing the rest of life and not being, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me was finding intermittent fasting for health and eating, because I no longer like obsess about food all the time. I think about it, and I even like for the other day I was creating a dish that I could put in the refrigerator, because I was going to have an extremely busy day the next day, and then I would be ready to just heat that food. You know, so it's not like I never think about it ahead of time, but it's just, I don't know, there's just a lot of freedom in it. And so I've been doing that, let's see, so August 2018, 6 years. So that's a muscle I've strengthened and practiced with. This business of having very concrete and set times to not buy in the hobby, and then hopefully a much smaller window where I give myself that time when I will have a buying window. And I'm still not sure exactly what that's going to look like, or whether there's going to be funds in there when the day comes. But that's, you'll know, because I'll be coming back here to do another video. I think it's going to, be more practice will make better, stronger commitment to the way of, because it's a way of life. It's not like a fad. It's not a temporary thing for me at all with the eating. So I strongly believe it can translate. And, it doesn't, as you can see, it didn't stop me from getting things that were not on my list of no-nos, because definitely fountain pens, fountain pen inks, and notebooks of any kind are off. But stamps are, when they're needed, and I get them. And the index cards, for one thing, but I had to question myself, did I break my fast by getting index cards? I don't think so, because I didn't have any 4x6 index cards, and I did have that contribution come in. There's a lot of, I've watched a lot of people talk about no buys, low buys, spending type things like this, and it varies. Some people will say if you get a gift card, or if it's a birthday or what, it doesn't count, and so I'm just going to hold that open, and we can discuss anything. If you think that's it, nope, Chris, you blew it. It's okay. It's okay to say so. I'll do what I'm going to do anyway. I'm just too stubborn. I think my mom said one time, it's been a while now, bless her heart, but I remember her telling me what she thought I should do, but she said, but I know you're going to do exactly what you want to do. And she's right. I'm nothing if not stubborn and set in my ways, but I deliberately try to change and try to evolve my habits. So, okay, I think that's definitely enough rambling. This may take all day, the rest of the day to upload, but I will see you in the comments. And gosh, we're getting close to September. I can't believe that. September is usually a really exciting month, because it's the anniversary of the channel. It falls in September, and it's going to be 7 full years when it hits. And so we'll be going into our 8th year of making YouTube videos. Is kind of like, wow, that's like longer than most of my jobs lasted. So that's pretty good. So I'll see you in the next video. Whoops, I just kind of threw the bottle cap. Coco will be thrilled with that. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you in the comments. Thank you so much for being here, and for commenting, and for allowing me to continue this discussion as a series, because at first I wasn't sure about it, but now I see the value in it. Like, it seems to build on what we've already talked about, and then it just seems to feel more of a fit every single month. So I will see you next time. Bye for now.